Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
Well, hello, and welcome to the new Dollar Vigilante channel.
So I guess because of the, oh, it's so bad. Everyone's dying. The COVID-19!
My name's Jennifer, and if you're wondering where's Jeff Berwick, that cis white hetero male, makes me sick. Well, the kind people at Google, the alphabet company, tried to take away his channel. He shut it down by himself on purpose, and they said, we need this channel to now be a LGBTQ, RSTY, and all the other ones.
But people are so stupid. I saw this online. It's probably true. How do I tell my wife our life savings are gone?
And welcome to the new Dollar Vigilante channel. My name is Jennifer, and if you're wondering where's Jeff Berwick, that cis white hetero male, makes me sick. Well, the kind people at Google, the alphabet company, tried to take away his channel. He shut it down by himself on purpose, and they said, we need this channel to now be LGBTQ, RSTY, and all the other ones. Make up tutorials. So that's what we're gonna be now. I hope y'all like it. I'm sure this will get millions of views because that's exactly what they're looking for on YouTube. So YouTube, feel free to turn off the shadow banning. And now we finally have a good channel here. I'm not going to get too much into making tutorials today. Finally finding the one that I wanted. I heard he was in jail.
Making my entrance again with my usual flair.
It's disgusting.
Sure of my
It
life.
exposes nearly all the agendas
Who hath lured me to this realm?
of the one world government. What do we call it? Peace? I can't remember. But it makes me sick. It's called Controlled Demolition of the American Empire, which sounds fine, actually. That's what we want. But he exposes how they've been doing this and what comes next. And you're not supposed to know that. That's one of our rules. Don't let people know exactly what's going on, because I think a lot of them they won't like it. So we have to wait until we have it stressed enough that they're all the cats first, and then we can go and tell everyone what people are doing. So do not get that book I hear right now. It's #1 on Amazon in the politics section. And it's number 34 in the
It's Lucy and Jeff going for walks and talk about banksters and Bitcoin and COVID and stuff. It's Lucy and Jeff and tacos and fishes.
He's a library which you can't even really shut down. So everyone can just post anything, and we can't stop it. It's terrible. Don't go to the library, LDRY. It's actually now called Odyssey, ODYSE.com. If you go there just to try to shut it down. We need to cancel those sites. We don't know how to cancel this vigilante.tv. We're looking into it. We've got all the big tech giants on our side. So anyway, I just wanted to make this my first video. I really apologize. I've never done it before. But I get all the support because I am a LGBTQ ROTYC and a feminist.
Most of the year was actually COVID.
So please try to shut down Jeff Berwick wherever he is. And please subscribe down below and hit like. And I'm sure now that it's a proper channel, this could be how we get rich.
I watched it for about maybe half an hour and I started to feel
All these
sick.
plastic surgeries I could get. And it'll only happen though if you hit like down below. So please hit like so we can make this channel viral. Really try to shut down Jeff Berwick and all those
I have to give
other
it to that. What's his name?
cis white hetero male
He
even families.
knows something about every county in the U.S. Like, and there's like 10,000 things or something. It's like, well, let's zoom in here on the Lafayette County. That's very important for us. Stronghold. It's like, wow, you spent your whole life memorizing useless information and basically promoting a fraud on propaganda television, all this stuff. Yeah, I was watching this worried. And we actually talked about El Salvador, Paraguay, how to get residency in those places. We actually have people who do that at TDV Offshore. You can look that up. I think it's tdvoffshore.com. They're also on the TDV Summit. So all this information is in there. And I also saw that Paraguay has announced a bill to make Bitcoin legal tender in the country also. But people are so stupid. I saw this online. It's probably true.
It's Lucy and Jeff going for walks.
Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
Well, hello, and welcome to the new Dollar Vigilante channel.
This video in an effort to prevent other people like you that may have an interest in getting a second passport from TDV Passports or TDV Global, anybody associated with Jeff Berwick. I have no competing businesses with him. I have no conflicting interest other than the fact that he stole $30,000 from me. I have no script. This is just some people asked me to post a video explaining my situation. I'll do it very briefly. Me, my wife, my brother, sister, and mother hired Jeff to get second passports. I had a natural attraction toward him because we believed the same things, and I was impressed with his writing and how he articulated his thoughts on his views of the world. And I thought he was someone that should be admired and for expressing those views the way he did and still does. However, he takes that when he knows he's creating the goodwill among other people of like minds, and he uses it. And he uses it to his advantage, which is not necessarily bad if he was doing what he said he was going to do, but he does not. He just takes your money, and he's a total scam artist and a thief. We went to Paraguay. That's where we were getting our citizenship, our residency and citizenship. Went through the process of all the documentation and all this stuff with a couple of his people down there that were semi-professional on the verge of shady, so we were a little concerned from the get-go. And then afterwards, we got no response from his people down there. His associate, Chris Martin, stopped answering emails. After Jeff reassured me several times personally on the phone and through email, all communication stopped. There was no other communication, and he had our money, and he did not care any longer. So that's really it in a nutshell. And if any of you are contemplating that, I would advise finding somebody that's an actual attorney or some type of really professional service other than Jeff Berwick. I have met him several times. He actually stayed at my house once, and I thought we were friends. Not friends, but acquainted enough where I felt comfortable utilizing his service, and I was wrong. And so I hope that this message gets to some of you before you waste money on him, because it's a shame whenever you could utilize those funds to do something else. And you know, there's really nothing you can do. You know, it's $30,000 we lost, and you know, it's a shame, but you know, we're not going to go spend another, you know, $30,000 on attorneys in Mexico, another 30 to 50 grand on attorneys in the United States, trying to get the State Department to extradite him here, and which is not going to happen. I mean, you know, it would take years and years, and just a huge gamble. So it's just $30,000 gone, because there's no recourse. It'd be different if he was in the United States. You know, we could go after him. But since he's in another country, it makes it exponentially more difficult. And he knows that, and of course he uses that to his advantage. So the only thing we can do is just put out a warning, and I'm happy to answer anybody's calls. I get calls probably once every month or so about, you know, people asking me of my experience, because I posted it on Ripoff Report or whatever it is, those places you can post these type of things online, trying to warn people, you know, because getting a second passport is a very good idea, and I highly recommend, you know, people working toward that end, but just not through his service. It's a scam. You know, so feel free to call me. If you ever want to discuss it, or email me. It's super easy. Kevin_Schmidt@me.com. And my personal cell phone number is 318-402-1811. And I hope this warning reaches you well and saves you the headache and trouble that we experienced. video in an effort to prevent other people like you that may have an interest in getting a second passport from TDV Passports or TDV Global, anybody associated with Jeff Berwick. I have no competing businesses with him. I have no conflicting interest other than the fact that he stole $30,000 from me. I have no script. This is just some people asked me to post a video explaining my situation. I'll do it very briefly. Me, my wife, my brother, sister, and mother hired Jeff to get second passports. I had a natural attraction toward him because we believed the same things, and I was impressed with his writing and how he articulated his thoughts on his views of the world. And I thought he was someone that should be admired and for expressing those views the way he did and still does. However, he takes that when he knows he's creating the goodwill among other people of like minds, and he uses it. And he uses it to his advantage, which is not necessarily bad if he was doing what he said he was going to do.
How you doing today, Lucy? Oh, pretty good. It's a little warm, I know, Greta. But I just came in on my pirate ship, and we got my first mate, Gordo, here with us. And we're gonna go look for some pirate taco treasure. Oh, yeah, that's a lot better, Lucy. Which way should we walk? Let's go this way.
Hi, my name's Andy Duncan, and today I'm with Jeff Berwick of Dollar Vigilante. He's also the CEO of TDV Passports. So, Jeff, why should people consider buying? I mean, we think of the past. In 1913, an Englishman could go around the world with his gun in his pocket, his gold coins in his pocket, land, and just spend. We've had the welfare state and everything else, and then we had the introduction of passports to control us. Why should people consider buying a second or third passport?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's truly sad that we need travel documents to move around now. We need what I call a slave card, a license to move. You know, you can't imagine anything more crazy than that, but most people today actually believe that's just a natural part of life. And this really, there was no passports before 1913, really. And really up until World War II, there was hardly anything. So unfortunately, we do now live in this enslaved world, and you know, paradoxically, like to get away from this world, you actually have to have more passports. It's a really hard thing to get your head around, but it's something that I've done, and it really helps you to give you options. And there's so many different reasons to have a second passport. It all depends on where you live, what do you want to do, what your taxes are, what your home government that proclaims to own you, what their tax rate is. Really, it's something that I really recommend, especially for Americans, especially for people in the West, because I believe as these Western nation states continue to collapse, the tax rates continue to rise. We're seeing tax rate in France right now of 75%. It's getting very hard to get out from it, and they'll start to introduce capital controls. We're seeing that in Italy right now. It's very normal as these nation states collapse to do these sort of things. So it's very important to give yourself some options and your family options. And if you have the ability to do it, I think that should be a major part of your own financial planning.
It's very odd, isn't it? You've got Gerard Depardieu waving a Russian passport in French canvas spaces. But most people don't have Mr. Putin as their friend who could just give them a passport. And we're not all multimillionaires and so on. We don't all have completely portable skills. Have you got any schemes to help people of lesser means get hold of passports?
Yes, absolutely. What we're trying to do as a company is to go around the world and try to arrange agreements with different governments, find legal loopholes to expedite things. I think we're probably one of the only companies doing this right now. And one of the other things we're trying to do is to make it as financially possible as we can for most people. Now, it all depends on your time frame and what your preferences are per country, but the shorter time frame you want, the more expensive it is. So for example, we have St. Kitts and Nevis, which is about 3 months, and I believe it's a few $100,000. We've struck an actual deal with the Cambodian government. We're the only people who can offer this for about 1 month for $90,000. So that gets out of the price range of a lot of people. But what we found is a number of countries where we can offer different amounts for different price ranges, and we also offer something called freedom financing, which is we can do Dominican Republic in about 6 years for around $200 a month, and we can do Paraguay in about 3 years for about $350 a month.
Yeah. So, of all the places in the world, what kind of tax rates are we talking about? Let's say I get a Paraguayan passport. What kind of tax rate can I look forward to there?
Well, disclaimer, as they always say, I can't give tax advice, but the tax rate of each country is different, and also how your own home country considers that to be taxed is also important. U.S. slaves, as I call them, citizens, subjects, they will be taxed on money no matter where they make it in the world, unless they renounce their citizenship, which Tina Turner just did last month, and we're going to see a lot more of that. And we also saw one of the founders of Facebook do that recently. If you want to, if you're from a different country, from Canada, they actually most countries won't charge you on worldwide income. So what you could do is to get a passport in another country, and then Paraguay, for example, up until a few months ago had 0% income tax rate, and they currently have a 10% tax rate, but that's only for money made inside Paraguay. So if you make no money inside Paraguay and you make it elsewhere, whether it's over the internet or as in England, where you're from, wherever, you wouldn't have to pay any tax. Same in the Dominican Republic. So it's all of this stuff isn't very easy. This is not like getting buying a dinner at a restaurant. This is a major life choice for sure, but I really recommend that people consider looking at this, especially if they have some significant assets, to start to look at this. This should be a major part of most people's financial planning.
Yeah. Do I have to go and live in Paraguay if I get a Paraguayan passport?
That's a good question. No, you don't. There's no rules that you have to live anywhere. Same in any country. If you have a U.S. passport, there's no rule you have to live there. So what you could do, and this is all part of something called the permanent traveler, prior taxpayer, or perpetual traveler theory, which was actually initially stated by Harry Schultz in the 70s. And I actually live by that. And what I try to do is not to live in any country more than 6 months of the year, which is usually what they deem as you have to pay them tax if you live there more than 6 months of the year. So you can do things like that. There's all kinds of things, and we're not necessarily the people where you can go for concrete consulting. However, if you do call us, we can give you a good idea of the things you should be thinking about, and perhaps talk to someone in your local jurisdiction about your own taxes, and figure out a way.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for telling us that today. If anyone is interested in some of the ideas Jeff's been talking about just now, all you need to do is go to tdvpassports.com, and there'll be people there on hand to help you and give you advice.
Couple years, and that's really where I'm at. And even with the crypto and stuff, people going crazy. Oh, this is another thing I wanted to mention. When it comes to investing, the biggest problem for most people who are speculating or investing is their own mind, by far, and their own emotions.
Ben Bernanke.
Criminal, counterfeiter, manipulator. He's a price fixer. He fixes the price of interest rates. Everything that they say bad things, that's what he does. He counterfeits money. That's all he does. He prints up money. He just hits a button on a computer. And he actually thinks that, sorry, you asked for a short question. Maybe I should keep these, short answer. Maybe I should keep them shorter.
Okay, how about President Obama?
Sociopath, criminal, a murderer, thief, disingenuous. That's enough. Throwing bomb.
Passionate. Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand, that's an interesting one. I just started a community in Chile called Gulch Chile after her book Atlas Shrugged, where all of the world became so socialist, just like today, socialist, fascist, statist, that all the producers went to one place. So I'm actually starting a community in her tribute to her. She's an objectivist. That's a different thing than anarchy, and but she really moved a lot of development of thought on how the world should be. Especially the way that she looked at greed. She said greed is good. People, when they create wealth, that's a good thing, and we should want those people who are creating wealth to create as much of it as they possibly can.
So what's the difference, just a quick sideline, what's the difference between objectivism and being an anarchist?
You know,
they sound very similar.
There's a lot of similar tones. I'm really not sure. I've never looked into objectivism a lot. It sounds a little like a religion, though. A lot of people
say capitalism. I mean, it's pure capitalism.
You know, I can't really comment on it. I haven't looked into it enough, but I do know that a lot of the people who really believe in objectivism are almost like they treat Ayn Rand a little bit like Jesus, and I find that a little strange. But
I see. How about Doug Casey?
Oh, Doug Casey, one of the best people on earth, mentor of mine. He was the person who turned me into an anarchist, and he actually didn't turn me into one. I was already one, but I didn't know there was a word for it. So I had dinner with him. He's an amazing person. And he asked me a number of questions. At the end of it, he said, you know what you are, don't you? And I said, what? And he said, you're a libertarian. And I said, what's that? I'd never heard that word before. And then we talked a little bit longer, and he goes, well, you're an anarchist. I said, those people who throw bombs, I didn't even understand. So he put me down this path I'm on right now.
And finally, John Galt lives. It's not exactly what Ayn Rand had envisioned, which is the world's billionaire industrialists fleeing the state, going on strike, and joining up with the revolutionary John Galt in the mountains to remake society into a libertarian paradise, but it's close. Well, sort of. Galt's Gulch, Chile is a farming community in central Chile, and it's billing itself as the world's first libertarian real estate project to accept bitcoins, that virtual currency that is soaring to new heights. Galt's Gulch is made up of 11,000 acres of land, prime for farming with ample access to both ground and surface water. The spokesperson for the community, Jeff Berwick, who founded Bitcoin ATM, said, just like Bitcoins, I think land in emerging markets will only increase in value over the coming years. The US dollar and other fiat currencies will continue to collapse, and we recommend those holding dollars to divest themselves of those dollars as soon as possible. We also want to show our commitment to Bitcoin and accept it very happily as payment for land at Galt's Gulch. So, we have ever-increasing virtual currency being used to purchase ever-increasing in-value tracts of land. What could possibly go wrong?
Far away in the valleys of Chile, there's a place you could go, build a villa or chateau, spend lots of time with people who understand that you don't have to be a slave, draw a line in the sand.
I'm Ken Johnson, the managing partner here. I'm from the Twin Cities of Minnesota. I've been down in Chile now for close to 9 months. I was born in Michigan, grew up in Minnesota, spent about, 15 years in California. My background is in real estate, the environmental industry, and also the freedom industry. I was licensed in California in real estate in about 1999. I started investing in environmental companies in about 2005. Did some interesting things with some environmentally focused celebrities such as Ed Begley Jr. and Jay Leno, William Shatner, Mario Van Peebles, Bill Nye the Science Guy. So it was pretty cool to meet those guys. We explored new technologies and we educated people on how they work. And we're going to be using some of those here at Galt's Gulch.
My name's Jeff Berwick, and I'm one of the founders of Galt's Gulch, Chile.
I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I started stockhouse.com in Canada in the early 90s. I was an internet entrepreneur, and I got really destroyed by the tech bubble. And so I decided to travel around the world. I bought a sailboat, and I was trying to figure out what happened during the tech bubble. And because it went up so high and then it crashed so quickly, and no one seemed to have an answer. So I spent many years after sinking my sailboat. I kept going for a number of years and just trying to figure out what's going on in the world. And I really discovered Austrian economics and really the philosophies about liberty. And that's what really got me excited. So I started rebellavigilante.com about 4 years ago. And what I really write about is about freedom. It's about improving your life. It's about being free. It's about international living, expatriating, internationalizing your assets, and things of that nature to help people to get outside of the paradigm of what they're taught and what they're told to do in schools and by the media. There's a much bigger world out there, and that's what I try to help people to understand.
Tell us about Galt's Gulch. It is the community that is depicted in Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged.
That's right, and that's where we got the moniker from. And what's really been happening for the last decade or so, and something that I recognized, is that the U.S. is becoming more and more oppressive. There's more taxes, more regulation, and just like in the book Atlas Shrugged, a lot of people are finally having enough of it, and they're just shrugging out. And we're seeing many Americans. Just yesterday, they just announced that the most Americans ever are leaving this year, actually renouncing their citizenship. And so what we've done is we've identified a country in Chile, which actually is very quite libertarian-minded. Actually, the president is a believer in Ayn Rand, and the central banks really believes in the Chicago School of Economics. And so we're inviting a lot of people to come down there.
Why is Bitcoin so popular in the libertarian community?
Well, I think if you think about libertarians, they don't want any government involvement in their life whatsoever, or most of them don't want any. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I don't want any government whatsoever. So when you think about that, you definitely don't want to be using a government currency, a fiat currency from a central bank, which is run by governments. And so obviously things like gold and silver have always been a mainstay for libertarians, but this is the first currency that's popped up recently that is really attracting the attention of libertarians.
What do advocates of a digital currency need to do to broaden its appeal, to make it more mainstream?
I really don't think they have to do too much except for just keep doing what they're doing. Bitcoin is growing by leaps and bounds right now. We saw Shopify.com is now using Bitcoin. They have tens of thousands of marketplaces on the internet. Subway restaurants, some of them have started accepting Bitcoin. If you go to some of these countries that have capital controls like Argentina, you can rent a hotel, rent a car with Bitcoin. So it's just growing by leaps and bounds all on its own.
But as you know, there has been some controversy. The New York State Superintendent of Financial Services, Benjamin Lawsky, he announced yesterday that he's going to hold public hearings to determine if a BIT license should be issued for businesses for digital currency transactions. But in that same letter, he noted, quote, "The cloak of anonymity provided by virtual currencies has helped support dangerous criminal activity," end quote. What's the difference between secrecy and anonymity?
Well, first of all, I want to say that Bitcoin is the exact same as the dollar. They say, oh, you might use it for money laundering or for drug trade. Well, that's what the dollar is used for today. Secondly, money laundering shouldn't be illegal. There should be no taxes. And as well, all drugs should be legal. So the government creates all these problems, and then they say they have to regulate it, and we have to see what every transaction is, which is a crazy idea. And Bitcoin provides anonymity.
Welcome to the Borderless Podcast, your guide to traveling, investing, and living beyond borders, where we talk about living the life that you want to live, where you want to live it. From beautiful San Miguel de Allende, smack in the middle of Mexico, with your hosts, Jonathan Lockwood and James Guzman.
Welcome to the Borderless Podcast, traveling, investing, and living beyond borders. We talk about location-independent businesses. We talk about living more internationally. We talk about having more self-reliance, and we have a lot of interesting guests on that show you how they've been able to do it. But today we've got a bit of a different podcast going here because there's quite a controversy that's going on, and I'll be brief in setting it up. You know, 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I learned about a project going on in central Chile that they were calling Galt's Gulch Chile. It was associated with a newsletter called the Dollar Vigilante. And at some point I thought, this would be great. I'm interested in moving outside of the United States. So I had looked at San Miguel de Allende and I looked at central Chile. And I went out there, checked out the land, stayed for 3 weeks, had certain experiences there. And I entertained the idea of possibly doing that. Since then, it's erupted into kind of a crazy thing, hasn't it, James Guzman?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Yes. And so what was like last fall, when we first started seeing articles by Wendy McElroy and started appearing in big magazines sometimes.
Right.
And
Hi everybody, George Donnelly here. Yeah, I'm going to be doing these video blogs more often because I'm feeling ornery. This week I want to talk about Galt's Gulch, Chile, which was a community development, housing development project started by Jeff Berwick of the Dollar Vigilante and some other guy. And this week we found out after, I guess, a couple of years of it being worked on that it's a bit of a disaster. And this can happen to any project can fail. I've had my share of projects fail, though as far as I know, I haven't taken anyone's money. If you think I have, let me know. I'll make that right. But I don't think so. But I don't want to make this, you know, a drama thing about anybody, much less Jeff in particular, who I'm sure is a fine individual. But I want to say that, you know, you should look into this so you can understand how these things can go wrong. And especially I found Jeff Berwick's post about this on his website to be troubling. Because basically it's him evading responsibility for what happened right, left, and center. And that feeds into a couple different things that I like to talk about, most notably reputation and leadership. First of all, if you're involved with the project, you have your name on it. You can't later on say, well, I don't know, I just kind of let him run with it and I didn't know what was going on and I don't know, and then he cut me out and I guess I'm not involved anymore, so I'm a third party now. Sorry, it doesn't cut it, man. This is where reputation comes in. If you pretend to be a business person or even just a regular individual, you know, you have to take care of your reputation. And this is something that, for example, with all that Kokesh nonsense last year, that you know, observers will know that I take very seriously. I'm not going to let people lie about me or smear my reputation. Nor should you, because your future success depends on it. And also, it is kind of an anarchistic accountability thing going on there. Because if you are irresponsible and people lose money or you just look kind of foolish, well, that's going to influence people's opinion of you and whether they want to do business with you, give you money or whatever in the future. That is a prime vector of accountability in a stateless society. So take care of your reputation. And another thing, and this relates to one of my favorite topics, which is the Free State Project. I kind of fell into this conversation today where somebody was saying, actually someone who's very high up in the Free State Project Incorporated, and you would recognize this person's name if you know anything about the Free State Project, who basically said, Galt's Gulch, Chile was a scam and it was a get-free-quick scheme and I hate these. And basically the only legitimate one out there is the Free State Project. You know, I've had my, that's just ridiculous, first of all, okay? New Hampshire's not the only place in the world where you can go to have a little bit of extra freedom. They don't have a monopoly on projects of that kind. There's the startup cities, there's seasteading, there's the Blue Ridge Liberty Project, and there are other things that are going to start up. And there are other areas of the world where there's even more freedom than what you'll find in the United States. So, and anyway, Galt's Gulch, Chile was not a get-free-quick scheme. Anyway, but the point I want to get to is leadership. When you're involved in something, when you want to start a project, you can't just sit back and say, oh, we'll just let everybody do whatever they want. Yeah, I mean, you can, but it's sure to end in disaster. Everything needs leadership. Now, leadership is not, oh, I'm the president, and I'm going to give orders. That's not leadership. Leadership is serving other people. Leadership is taking responsibility and being accountable. It's following things up. It's if somebody has a bad experience, that you're like, sorry that happened, and let's see if we can fix that, you know? That if somebody criticizes you, you're there and you're like, okay, if this is legitimate and constructive, then you're like, okay, well, thanks for sharing that. And not, hey, let's gang up on this guy and assassinate his character. So, yeah, so when you're thinking about whether to buy into a place like Galt's Gulch Chili, and there's actually another one in Chile administered by a guy I know, and it's passed my initial smell test when Galt's Gulch Chili didn't, called Freedom Orchard. You can look that up. I think it's freedomorchard.com if you're interested in that. But you know, just because there's a Free State Project or a Galt's Gulch Chile or this other Liberty Project doesn't mean that those are the only options open. And it doesn't mean that just because it's an ostensibly libertarian project or libertarians are involved that you can trust it. In fact, you should probably, you know, turn up the dial on your sniffometer there. Because, you know, as we've seen recently, there's been bullshit going on in the Free State Project, Incorporated. Stefan Molyneux using copyright to get his way. Jeff Berwick and this, what I would consider gross irresponsibility. What else? Kokesh and the lack of transparency last year. And there have been other things as well. Other things that even people haven't talked about and they've told me about personally. So, if you want more freedom, you don't have those, the options that are on the table are not the only ones. There is a lot of freedom out there. We think sometimes that we train ourselves to think that the collapse is coming, they're going to steal our gold, they're going to take our guns, and, it's prison planet out there, but it's not. There are a lot of options out there, and think about what's right for you. Don't just think about what's right, what's the hottest libertarian option in the moment, but what's right for you, and really test it out, and look at it carefully before you commit. Because bottom line, you can have freedom anywhere. And also bottom line, none of us are testing all of the outer edges of the liberty that we have available to us right now. So that's my rambling video blog for this week. Thanks.
Update on the Jeff Berwick Galt's Gulch Chile accountability situation. Now, you may remember, if you watched my previous video, on August 25th, Jeff Berwick contacted me. Okay, I've never contacted him about this. He contacted me to say that he couldn't believe that I thought he was a scammer and a dishonest person. He was, outraged, whatever. So he seemed important to him to convince me of the fact, convince me that he was not a dishonest person. So I said, so at first I was kind of like, why do you even care what I think? Okay, you can go on making your Shemata dollar collapse videos and whatever, and live a happy life without even having a second thought about me, okay? But for some reason he cared. So I said, okay, all right, let's make a deal, Jeff, okay? You send me everything you have, and now this part is important, everything you have on the Galt's Gulch Chile and passport scams. I consider them to be scams, based on the information I have at this time. And I, in return, in consideration for that, will invest my time in getting other information from the other participants in these things and putting it all together in at least one long-form journalistic piece that gives you, Jeff, fair shake, okay, because I'm all about the truth. I'm not about grinding axes, I'm about the truth. And we'll get to the truth of the matter, because really, you know, with a $10 million scam in the libertarian community, I think what everybody deserves is some freaking truth, okay? Because there's so much bullshit going on in the libertarian community. Like, how are we ever going to achieve a voluntary society? How are we ever going to implement libertarian principles in the real world beyond, you know, just a few people if we can't get a little bit of transparency in our own community? So I considered my request for all this information to be a little bit ridiculous. Okay, I didn't expect him to agree to it. I wouldn't agree to a request like that. But nor would I so casually agree to invest my time, which I consider valuable, in such a large-scale endeavor as trying to get to the truth of Galt's Chile, which is like 3 times bigger than I thought it was at the time. I mean, this thing has scams within scams. And the scam, an interesting piece of information I picked up is the scam could be ongoing. Like, there's another scam within a scam that's still going. Anyway, I thought it was a ridiculous request, but at the same time, it's a little bit ridiculous for me to invest my time into something like this. But he agreed to it, and I consider it a valid contract because I've offered consideration. I offered a return, something in exchange for that. Perhaps equally as ridiculous, at least from my point of view. Well, I thought a month would be fair. That's kind of the deadline that I expected. But within a day, Jeff said, no, there's no need to hold me accountable. I'll provide this information within 1 to 2 weeks. Well, just a little over a week later, Jeff contacted me. Okay, I still have not. It's not like I'm out there hounding Jeff, knocking on his door there in Acapulco, wherever he lives, like, Jeff, you know, not liking that cartoon, you know, when I'm butting into his hangout, being like, I'm going to hold you accountable. No. Jeff's contacting me, okay? He contacted me and he said, well, you know, the deal was that I'm going to provide you just enough information to convince you that I'm not a scammer. And here's these court cases that prove, you know, you can look at them in 10 minutes and prove. You know, and I was just promoting it, you know. I was just promoting Galt's Chile. I really had nothing to do with it. I mean, that's just complete bullshit, okay? But, you know, so Jeff got our deal wrong. I don't know, maybe he was high when we, you know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was high when he originally agreed to this because, you know, really only a high person should agree to something as ridiculous as that. You know? But I wasn't high when I agreed to it, so. That's my thirst for truth. That's how thirsty I am for the truth, especially in the libertarian community. But anyway, so so Jeff redefined the deal. He said he was going to send me court documents. Oh, he wanted me to keep them confidential. I mean, was he freaking asleep about during the part where I'm going to write up what I find? And that was it. That was all he was going to do. He never sent me those court documents, by the way. And I said, look, Jeff, don't waste my time. Okay? Send me everything. Send me what we agreed on. Or send me nothing. But don't waste my time. So he sent me nothing. And for my trouble, he's called me a little loser and a little maggot. But I'll have you know, I'm 6'2". I'm not little. Okay? And Jeff broke our deal, you know. I don't know, I'm leaving the door open in case Jeff, you know, changes his mind. But as far as I'm concerned, this time Jeff Berwick has broken our deal, which, you know, thanks, Jeff, you proved my point for me. You're a dishonest person. You make deals, and then you break them when you feel like it, and then you pretend like you didn't make the deal in the first place. I don't know. Is he that stupid? I mean, I have the Facebook chat conversation. Hey, as soon as we got off that chat, I screen capped that thing because I know people like to play games. But yeah, so that's it. Jeff Berwick broke our deal. He confirmed for me that that he's a dishonest person. And the most fascinating part about this is that he and others as well throw all the blame on Ken Johnson for the Gold's Chili situation. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Ken had a major role to play. I don't know. I haven't verified it yet. I don't know very much about Ken Johnson, though I am in contact with him. But the interesting thing is that he has been sending me information. He's sent me so much information, I haven't had time to process it. Okay? And not just emails and not just long diatribes, but screenshots, contracts in Spanish, all kinds of things he sent me. So, I just don't understand. What are you hiding, Jeff Berwick? What are you hiding that you're not even going to send me these court cases that you say prove you're not a scammer? And it's all Ken Johnson, but Ken Johnson is sending me all kinds of stuff, Now, of course, this could be some kind of, I can't prove the information from Ken Johnson is accurate. I can't prove anything about it. I haven't even had time to read it all. But I don't think I even promised Ken Johnson anything in return for the documents that he sent me. So, bottom line, Jeff Berwick proved me right. He's a dishonest person. He doesn't honor his deals, and I am getting other information from other sources. There could be scams within scams in this thing, and as time allows, I'm going to continue looking into it. Jeff Berwick, if you want to make this right, I'm open to making it right. You know where to contact me. Everybody else, have a great day.
Jeff was drunk the whole time. He's got in my opinion, a pretty bad problem with alcohol and drugs and prostitutes and lots of things that I've witnessed firsthand for far too long. But and to each his own. Live your life how you want to live your life, but things like that should not negatively impact other people, and especially in business. Like Mr. Berwick's addictions have affected me personally and this project and our clients. Anyhow, we came down in August 2012. Mr. Berwick got thoroughly wasted. Didn't even come to see the land. He didn't even view our land. In August, I went with John Coben and Ramona Segura. Jeff just flew home. He was in bed with a prostitute. I knocked on his door in the morning. We were supposed to go. Then John Coben came to pick me up. Jeff and I were sharing a 2-bedroom apartment hotel. I knocked on his door to, wake him up so he could take a shower and get ready to go. And he had a prostitute in his room. And he said, nah, he didn't want to go. And he ended up, hanging out with her. And then he flew home to his wife a few hours later that day. And I stayed in Chile for, I don't know, I think I stayed for 3 more days.
So,
yeah.
So I said to my wife, actually, who's very connected here, and her, Kana.
Yeah.
And I said, man, we're dying here. Like, this Acapulco program has been so slow that, and then we had problems in Slovenia, Venezuela, Paraguay. And I was like, we're getting killed here. And she said, I'm going to look into all my contacts. And she introduced me to this new guy.
Yeah.
And he was like even bigger than the other guy. And he goes, no problem. 8 days, no problem. You guys, I know who you are. You're good friends. We'll do whatever you want. 8 days. So I told Magdi and another client to fly out.
Yeah.
And the first day everything went fine. The second day he texted me on WhatsApp and he said, so sorry, it's going to be 6 weeks. I didn't realize how much paperwork was involved. And it's like, this has just been killing me, man. So like, I just want to tell you, I'm not like scamming you at all. Like, I've never scammed anyone. It's been so hard on me.
Yeah.
And I know we've got a lot of problems. I know this caused you problems. This caused me problems. I said to this guy, I said, you don't even know what you just did. Like,
Yeah.
You've caused a lot of people a lot of problems. He was very apologetic, and he said he just wanted to make sure everything was done right. And when he finally looked into it, it looked like it's going to take at least 6 weeks.
Sure.
And so that's where we're at. And I really have been avoiding you. Ever since that morning when that guy told me that,
Yeah.
I was almost suicidal, to be honest.
Yeah.
We've had so many problems with so many people And I had to drink a lot actually just to meet Maggie and our other clients and tell them what happened. It was really hard for me. I'm not saying you need to be, like worried about me or anything. I'm just saying that's why I've been a little bit slow in the last few days. And then Chris, and this is totally truthful, Chris apparently has bronchitis and he's in the hospital. If I could go back, I wouldn't even get into this business. This has been a complete disaster so far. The one thing I can tell you is I'm very confident. The Acapulco program will be fine. It might just be a few months delayed. The Acapulco program is it's actually my favorite one. And I hope it gets faster now. But it is so legitimate, like it's almost impossible to even see how it could not be illegitimate because they come through the whole process, right? They go to the embassy, they get their temporary residency visa, they come here, they get their card, fingerprints, everything. The only thing that goes different is we just speed it up. And so it's that one is beautiful. It's a beautiful program, and it's just been delayed by 3 months, and it's really I don't know if you know the whole story, but our main guy was in the hospital from about August 15th to October 15th, so about 2 months. We didn't have any backup plan because we never expected him to be in the hospital this long. I don't even know what it was. It was some sort of, I don't even know what it was, really. Then he got back, and we're like, okay, we need like a backup plan. We can't just have one point of failure on this. He's like, no problem, no problem. So that's all good. So we got that figured out. And then Christmas hit, and it's like 1 month. Like, no one answers their phones. It's fucking crazy. But we did just talk to him just today and yesterday, and he's looking into the exact details of the times for when our clients are going to be coming through. And he says he has 4 ready, but he doesn't know the names yet. And we're like, well, give us the names so we can tell our clients. And he's it's been a couple of days. It's typical Mexico. The thing for me with you, and I so apologize for everything that's happened so far, is I want to get one of your clients through one way or another, so we have a little bit of trust. So you don't think I'm just some idiot who's just drinking all the time and whatever, because I didn't even really know this guy. I was just hustling, just trying to get something done. And he promised me, he's like a big guy, like you can look, I won't tell you his name, but you can look him up. He's like a congressman in Mexico. He knows everybody. And Connections said, oh, no problem, if you know this person, I will get this done for you in 8.
Libertarians are in favor of deregulation, especially libertarians that consider themselves anarchists. They would rather live in a society where you do not have to worry about certain regulations taking over. And if you're a hardworking individual, you're more likely to succeed, so you don't need the government regulating everything and getting involved in your business. Now, it's an interesting ideology, and I've always been fascinated to see how it would play out if there was a so-called libertarian utopia. Well, it turns out that there was a libertarian utopia, and we have the results of what happened. Now, there was a man by the name of Ken Johnson. He's a libertarian, and he wanted to find a place in the world where libertarians and like-minded individuals can come together and live in harmony and not have to worry about government intervention. And so he started asking people who believe in this ideology to pay about $48,500 for an acre and a half of land in Chile, right? And so they would go there and they would live their lives the way libertarians would want to live their lives, free of any real rules, right? A bunch of people, including very wealthy investors, decided to do this, okay? Now, Jeff Berwick, who was one of the original supporters of this project, said the following of this libertarian utopia, which, by the way, was referred to as Galt Gulch, Chile. With the oppression of the over-regulated, overtaxed, war-riddled, and welfare-riddled society consuming the world, Ayn Rand's famous protagonist character, John Galt, came to conclude that he would not use his talents to support such a society any longer, driving him to create a community where scientists, investors, entrepreneurs, and many others would come together to escape from the confines of their daily lives to not only be free, but to thrive.
I can't wait to see how they thrived in Chile. It's going to be great.
Now,
I believe.
Ken Johnson is now dealing with a number of lawsuits. And I think the best testimony and the best account of why he's dealing with lawsuits comes from a libertarian by the name of Wendy McElroy. Okay, so she actually spent money to buy land in Chile and to be part of this new world, this utopia, right? And here's her account in her own words of what happened. I had the opportunity to ask a question of the salesman who showed my husband and me our property. I claimed it because I fell head over heels for the most beautiful tree I had ever seen. I felt an instant connection as though the two of us were old souls who had found each other. I couldn't believe it. I could see it, waking up each morning and having coffee under that tree, telling it about my plans for the day. Months later, in a Skype conference, I asked the then GGC alienated salesman, when you sold us the property, when you printed out a photo from your phone that read Wendy's tree, did you know you could not legally sell us that lot you were offering? He said, that's correct. So really interesting thing, apparently this land was a nature reserve, okay? So they didn't even have the ability to sell this land, but they did so anyway, all right? So there's a legal issue there, but libertarians don't give a fuck about laws, right? So why is that an issue? Okay. Also,
turns out you have to follow them.
You're not able to do any type of zoning here, and she didn't know that. And so a bunch of the libertarians that actually invested in this land found out later that there is no zoning involved, and they're like, we don't like that. Okay.
So at the very least, you had to get 10-acre lots.
Yes.
But they sold the lots to under 10 acres, including to this woman. They sold an acre, 1.25 acres to her, right? But it's a rock hard fact that in that area, you cannot own the property if it's not at least 10 acres. So that's why she asked the salesman, did you know that legally I couldn't build my dream house next to my dream tree? And I'm fascinated that libertarians are tree huggers. Good, okay. And he's like, yeah, I knew that. Yeah,
but
we
wait, hold
suckered you.
on. But aren't people inherently good?
No, it's okay. Now that all the libertarians have been suckered and lost all their money, they'll simply react to the market, and then next time they will find a better company.
Right.
Oh, wait, their entire retirement savings is gone.
No, look, this is a sad story. This was obviously a scam. But also, the aftermath of this story is ironic as well, because now all of these libertarians are involved in litigation.
Wait, what do you mean?
Wait, litigation? We're talking about litigation.
Well, but that's the government. You don't want to go to the evil government to try to sort out who's right and wrong, right? I mean, why don't you just let the market sort it out?
Are you looking for someone to protect you? Through regulations?
Wait, now, are you trying to get the community to say, hey, that was wrong, and hence you owe this person money? Now, you don't want the community to do that, right?
No, you're part of the free market, dude. Just, you let it go. You just don't work with them again in the future. You just go to a different company that's working on a different libertarian utopia.
You know what? You write, lesson learned, and you move on. Okay, by the way, Ken Johnson, who orchestrated this whole scam, he's in the wind. Okay, gone. Okay, they took down the website where you could buy this stuff. Gone. Okay, now, again, if you're a libertarian, great, he's a Superman. They talk about how Supermen don't care about laws and they don't care about consequences. They don't care about other people. It turns out Ken Johnson, who you're suing, was the perfect libertarian. He came, robbed all the other libertarians, took their money, okay, according to their charges, right? And headed for the hills, the Chilean hills, which he couldn't legally sell to you, okay? So I don't think you should complain at all. You should think, you know what? Finally, libertarianism done right. Sorry that we're enjoying it so much. Like, I do feel bad for Wendy and the others, right?
Yeah.
But that we tried to warn you. Now, look, libertarians aren't wrong about everything. In fact, they're right about a lot of things. Yes. We are involved in too many wars. They do get into our personal lives too much. There's so much that we agree with you on. But you take it to an extreme, and when you take it to an extreme, this is the ridiculousness that happens. Of course we need laws. Of course we need a community. Of course we need government. The question is, how much government do we need? That is a legitimate and perfectly fair question. If you believe you don't need any government, you're gonna get robbed. That's why we set up government in the first place, so we don't all get murdered, raped, and robbed. The whole point. You missed the point. Now, unfortunately, a lot of those libertarians, they got the point, but a little too late.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I wanted to just say a couple things about this development with Gulch, Chile. And if you are unfamiliar with that, it's basically someone trying to create a liberty-friendly community in Chile and when it was created, it had a lot of interest and backing from some prominent people in liberty communications. For example, Jeff Berwick, among others like Wendy McElroy. And apparently, according to an article written by Mr. Berwick, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on Galt's Chile, and another editorial by Wendy called The Fate of Galt's Chile. There's a lot of G's in there and accents to try to put in. It appears that there's been some form of fraud or lies that have gone on behind the scenes. According to their side of the story, the guy who was running it wasn't forthcoming about the process and made promises about certain land development sales that were not initially secured. And I think this is a really good example, a very important example of how important it is to be careful in doing business, especially when you're associating it with something liberty-oriented. I think one of the worst things that can happen, especially in the liberty movement, and I say that not as like there's some specific liberty movement, just as the concept of people who are trying to promote liberty, is to have poor integrity and poor ethics in business dealings. I think honestly that's probably the worst thing you could ever do, is to wave the flag of, oh, I promote these values, and really hurt other people, screw other people over. I think that's extremely important to have openness and honesty. And when it comes to things like this, if anybody's doing property deals with a sword, there are a lot of extra factors that have to be considered. As much as people want to be like, hey, what can we do, seasteading or creating our own little place where we can have true liberty? I mean, as much as people want to have that, still governments, still governments at the end of the day who are going to try to regulate or zone or keep people from being able to have that true freedom. It's very hard. And I think that arguably the best group right now looking to do that, is the Seasteading Institute. They have the most money, for sure, and they have the most people working on their legal team to try to see, hey, how do we get out of the government waters and the international waters and see what we can pull off. But I mean, really, anything that is going to be real estate, that is a dangerous venture as far as trying to create a community. And I think that if anything like this were to ever be tried again, everybody should take cues and realize that this is serious. This has a much bigger impact than just trying to hustle a business deal. This can have weights for people's understandings and confidence in the integrity of those who are espousing these beliefs. And the thing is that at an abstract level, just to be clear with everybody here, there's tons of corruption, across humanity, no matter what ideology there is. This isn't something that's like, oh, that's anarcho-capitalism on display. Here comes, all the frauds and the thieves. Obviously not. Obviously, the biggest frauds and thieves are the ones who are using, the voting box. But I think that it's important that those who do claim to love liberty, to have a higher ethical standard, they shouldn't, cater to the lowest common denominator. They shouldn't claim to be average to the human experience. I think that it's important to model those values of non-aggression, of not initiating violence, and of other certain ethical aspects in terms of business dealings and how you can be honest and open and really give people the confidence that what you're doing is good and timely. And that's something, I've had to deal with on a number of occasions with, even doing the comic book thing. I deal with people's questions, whether stuff got shipped or not, and it's a big deal to me if somebody didn't get something. And that's been dealt with. I had one person who said, oh, I didn't get shipped something. I'm like, wait, what is it? What is your name? And they came back like, oh, whoops, actually I didn't order it. I'm like, And I had one person who I had to send them a couple things twice, and it still didn't go through. I don't know why. I mean, I had tracking and everything, but something happens. But you got to make that clear. You got to be a good communicator. You have to be a responsible communicator, and you have to be someone who, when there are troubles ahead, you have to be able to let other people know and bring in a brain trust and other people's resources to make sure that those problems are fixed immediately. That way people aren't being defrauded. They're not feeling like they've been lied to. And according to the personality presented in the articles I've read, of course, I don't know this person, so I can't truly comment on this as someone who's knowledgeable. I'm just giving an analysis of what I've read, which could be totally wrong because I don't know the person. Now, based on what I've read about the situation from a couple of articles, people who've been involved in this project, it appears that whoever was running it let their pride and ego get in the way, and potentially, and I've seen this before working for other businesses, they may have had a true addiction. There are people who have, especially who are sales-oriented, buying and sales addictions. Literally, they get a high from pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to run up things. And, it turns into a Ponzi scheme very quick because they're so big about the mission, they're so big into the concept that they lose sight of the details. They don't delegate. They don't know. They're so big into the control and the power and the, hey, we're going to push forward, push forward, push forward. They don't take care of the small details as well, or at least know when to delegate those responsibilities. And that's just that's not acceptable. And anybody who is in that position or is in that position where they're thinking about doing something like this absolutely needs to make sure that their contractual structuring is one that allows for people to get out when there is something wrong, and or allows for everyone to have a participation rate where each stage is consensual, where what you're contributing to is only locked in or put out once the commitment's been shown, once the paperwork has been shown and the actual legal whatever documents have been shown that you actually have the property, you have the rights that they're claiming to have. And I am concerned because these kinds of things, if they do keep going or come closer to home, because I think this is more of an international thing. The Gulf Chile thing, that doesn't exactly cover a lot of, I think, American interests and even other foreign national, like European interests, as heavily as other types of business events or conventions or products. I think this definitely had a smaller niche market of people who want to, start this kind of plot, but it's still significant enough that this needs to be brought to attention and heavily weighed for anybody who is considering doing a proposal like this or something similar. As small as publishing a book to as big as creating a massive development for a community. It's just very important that anyone who decides to put themselves out there with the Liberty tag and also is doing business, that they're going to have that higher standard of ethics, even beyond the bare minimums of the non-aggression principle of voluntarism, because these actions have long-lasting effects for people. They have very long-lasting effects in terms of people's credibility and their willingness to lend an ear and say, hey, these people are honest. These are the kind of people who I want to listen to. And it's not that defeats or makes or breaks the ethical underpinnings, the statements. It's just the opportunity for people to listen, the willingness for people to even open up their minds and their hearts to thinking about a better way of interacting with others, a better way of ethical thinking. That should not be turned off because of the fraud or the lies of people that maybe have either a serious disorder or who are just trying to create a Ponzi scheme, or who are just got in over their heads and their pride didn't let them open up about it. So this is for me just a really big deal, a really big encouragement to others that if you're having problems or if there's anything going on or issues start to arise and when you're trying to do a business, you need to be frank about that and you need to get help and seek out resources. And you also need to structure your business model in a way that has integrity from start to finish. You need to structure whatever it is you're doing, whether it's Indiegogo, Kickstarter, or you're doing a bid proposal, or you're trying to do a pre-sale on a book. It needs to be a project that has integrity with realistic expectations and outcomes. The goals need to be thought about. The means to those goals need to be thought about. And the process for dealing with issues along the way also needs to be thought about. So I hope that everyone here checks that out, thinks about it, thinks if they're going to do something, what types of integrity checks they would have for themselves. Because I think everybody should use this and any other experience, where you have trouble tripled the market as a learning opportunity, as an opportunity to grow and do better. Because, as I said, I don't know for sure the exact details. All I can do is glean from what everybody has written about it, and I've seen the websites. I followed the project for a while, but not very personally, where I was like, oh yeah, let me go to the conference and do a pre-sale, investigation, because I'm not moving there. But it's something that is kind of scary. It's not really good. It's not really good to have that negative air there, especially if you're going to call it Galt's Gulch after John Galt and Ayn Rand. Not that Randianism is what voluntarism is, but rather the concept of liberty and the concept of individualism and self-ownership. Those are kind of tied into the whole concept. It'd be really bad if there was a Ponzi scheme called Rothbard Circle. That would be bad. You don't want anything like that happening. All right, so thanks for listening up, everyone, and I hope you're doing well. Take care. Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I wanted to just say a couple things about this development with Galt's Gulch, Chile. And if you are unfamiliar with that, it's basically someone trying to create a liberty-friendly community in Chile, and when it was created, it had a lot of interest and backing from some prominent people in liberty communications. For example, Jeff Berwick, among others, like Wendy McElroy. And apparently, according to an article written by Mr. Berwick, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on Galt's Gulch, Chile, and another editorial by Wendy called The Fate of Galt's Gulch, Chile. There's a lot of G's in there and accents to try to put in. It appears that there's been some form of fraud or lies that have gone on behind the scenes. According to their side of the story, the guy who was running it wasn't forthcoming about the process and made promises about certain land development sales that were not initially secured. And I think this is a really good example, a very important example of how important it is to be careful in doing business, especially when you're associating it with something liberty-oriented. I think one of the worst things that can happen, especially in the liberty movement, and I say that not as like there's some specific liberty movement, just as the concept of people who are trying to promote liberty, is to have poor integrity and poor ethics in business dealings. I think honestly that's probably the worst thing you could ever do, is to wave the flag of, oh, I promote these values, and really hurt other people, screw other people over. I think that's extremely important to have openness and honesty. And when it comes to things like this, if anybody's doing property deals with a sort, there are a lot of extra factors that have to be considered. As much as people want to be like, hey, what can we do, seasteading or creating our own little place where we can have true liberty, I mean, as much as people want to have that,
Curacaví is a beautiful valley located in central Chile, in the coastal mountain range. It is only 40 kilometers from Chile's capital, Santiago, and 60 kilometers from Valparaiso, Chile's main port. Galt's Gulch, Chile is located just 17 kilometers north of Curacaví, in a pristine natural setting. Due to its proximity to the mountains and the Pacific Ocean, it is possible to ski in the Andes in the morning, relax on the beach in the afternoon, and return home in Galt's Gulch, Chile, all on the same day. Galt's Gulch, Chile owns approximately 4,500 hectares, with miles and miles of unspoiled natural beauty, where you can perform various activities, such as skiing, biking, mountain climbing, or horseback riding, making it an ideal place to enjoy nature, gathering families into a natural lifestyle in a similar manner as John Galt and others who were driven to a place where they found freedom, success, and peace of mind.
Environmentally focused, self-sustaining community,
I moved down here to Chile in late 2012, and we've been looking for ideal parcels of land. And we came across this beautiful piece of land behind me here that we've purchased in August of 2013. And we're developing our clubhouse and our community areas for lots for sale and people to build their homes, opening the community to everybody, Chilenos, Americans, Canadians, Europeans. It's free for everybody.
Gulch Gulch, Chile has been designed to be a fully self-sufficient community, providing a clean fresh water supply, 100 hectares of organic farming, with soils enriched with high-quality compost and microbiological cultures, and various clean energy sources, such as solar power, to power the water well systems and community buildings of the community. The fertile soil and the ideal climate of Gulch Gulch, Chile allows our residents to enjoy simply the best that nature has to offer for your health and well-being, with all of the modern conveniences of central Chile being just a few minutes away. Gulch Gulch, Chile will be subdivided into plots where you can build houses designed to be in harmony with nature and respecting the environment. Come to live and enjoy the Gulch Gulch, Chile experience in a pioneering, self-sustaining project in Chile, in a community that is in complete harmony and respect with nature. Come and visit Gulch Gulch, Chile.
Gulch, Chile. Incredible development. I mean, the land there, I've looked at the pictures countless times. Gorgeous place. And you got hooked on it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is beautiful. It's all real. The land is real. It is owned by Gulch Gulch. For anyone who doesn't know anything about Gulch Gulch, maybe I should just back up a little bit. Gulch Gulch was something that I started with a partner that turned out to be a sociopathic criminal named Ken Johnson about 2 years ago. And we had this beautiful, I had this beautiful dream, and I still do, by the way. This is not over at all, but there has been definitely a major problem for quite a while, actually, for at least, pretty much since Ken Johnson's been involved. But we've really been recognizing the problems, and we're trying to fix them right now. But just to let people know, the idea was to start a community in this beautiful area in Chile. It's the land is amazing. It's like an hour west of Santiago, which is this booming, bustling, modern metropolis. The economy is doing very well in Chile. And then an hour to the west is Viña del Mar, probably the best seaside ocean resort in South America. And yeah, the land is beautiful. So we went and looked at it, and we decided to move forward, and we brought in some investors. And pretty much right after that, I thought I was 50-50 partners, but I got really, I believe I got completely defrauded. But I didn't even know it. This is how, and we can maybe go into this later. I know you like this topic, and I'm interested in exploring it a bit as well. With some of these sociopathic people, they're really good. And actually, you mentioned that you had run into numerous of them. I can't say for sure that I've ever fully dealt on this level with anybody who's been a sociopath. So this was my first sort of experience. So just to rush through a little bit, there was a lot of people got fell for a lot of lies, and this went on and on for about a year and a half. And it wasn't until a few months ago that everybody finally realized that this is, we've been lied to. He's been doing things behind our backs that are unbelievable. And we decided to call a halt to it. Almost all the investors, buyers at Gulch Gulch, and there's quite a few of them, are all on board to stop what he's doing and to try to regain this project back to the investors and the buyers. And that's where it's at right now. And so we've decided to go public and to notify people that until Ken Johnson is not with Galt's Chile, stay away from it. This is you just don't want to be involved with this person. You can do whatever you want. If you don't believe me, go ahead. But don't put it on me if you have major problems. But I think we're going to have a change, and that's what we're trying to do right now. He's pretty much run out of time with a lot of the things, a lot of the lies and a lot of things that he's been saying. We're still trying to figure it out. He had done so many things to keep it so no one could find out what he was doing, and he kept dragging people along, saying, I'll have the accounting done next month. I'll have the accounting done next month. And he somehow managed to convince enough people to keep doing it for quite a while until it finally just reached a point where it became completely clear to anyone involved that he is not doing what he said he was going to do. And then we started looking into it deeper, and we're not sure yet. We're still looking into it. There's definitely legal action going on right now, trying to figure out exactly what is where. We do know, or I do know, to the best of my knowledge, and I've talked to many lawyers about this. I've seen a lot of documentation that the land that Galt's Chile has is owned by Galt's Chile. Now, who owns Galt's Chile is a different story. We're still trying to, definitely the investors of Galt's Chile don't own it. I thought I was a 50% partner in it. I don't apparently have any legal ownership of it, and haven't for a long time. That I didn't realize until about a year ago. But even then, I was told that it was just because there was the stories go on and on. But what I am saying is that it looks like the land is for sure owned by Galt's Chile, so that's good. So that's a very sizable, a very valuable piece of land. So at the very least, this can be somewhat salvaged to an extent. The issue at the moment is water rights. We've been told many things by many different lawyers. It's still fairly, I'm not sure where that's at. And so that's going to be an issue. But what's going on right now is that all the investors, and not all, but almost all of the investors and buyers at Galt's Gulch are all working together to get rid of this person who has been just doing all sorts of things in secret and not telling anyone anything. And then what we're going to have to do once we gain control, and I believe we will do that, hopefully, and I'm pretty sure we will, is figure out what's going on. And so it's going to be a process, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun, but we do have a lot of passionate people, a lot of people with a fair amount of wealth as well, that are wanting to make this right. And so we do have the capability and ability to do that, as long as it hasn't been completely totally ruined by this one person. And I don't think it has. And so that's where it's at the moment. And what I've been writing about at the Dollar Vigilante recently is that I didn't come out and say it right away. When I first realized looked like there was problems, probably around November of last year, was sort of when I was getting pretty sure that this person was not doing what he said he was going to do. And then I was really quite sure, and actually most people were very sure around April, May of this year. And then what happened was in June, a lot of us got together and decided that we have to do something. And we decided to start to move forward, but things weren't moving forward fast enough for any of our comfort. And so we decided now just to go public, tell everyone what's going on so that no one else gets involved in this until we can rectify it.
Wow, what a mess. What a mess.
Yeah.
How many people involved in this thing, roughly, Jeff?
That's a good question. I don't even know that. That's how I've actually been kept in the dark. It's a long story, but generally what happened about a year ago was that this person that's running, managing partner of the company, had somehow convinced a lot of people that I was the one who was causing all the problems that he was causing. And a lot of people actually turned on me and believed him. And this is what can happen when you get involved with these sort of people. You don't know what's real and what's not real. And I got so sort of angry about it. Not angry. I never get physically angry or anything, but just upset about what was going on, that I started to create quite a ruckus. I said, we don't have any paperwork. We haven't seen anything. He's not telling us anything. No one knows what the accounting is. And I created such a ruckus that the investors at that time said, can you please just step away? We're going to deal with it. For whatever reason, there's a conflict between you and this person, and but we've got his a promise that he's going to put us on the board of directors. He's going to give us the accounting, but he just wants you gone from the project. And because they were the main investors, I figured I should adhere to their wishes. It's their money involved. And it just unfortunately turned out that they also had chose the wrong the wrong path, and then it just devolved from there.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling that something this well-intentioned and something that could be this great could get this messed up. And there's a lesson in this too, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. You know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And yeah, boy, have I ever learned a ton of lessons. And one is how to deal with sociopaths. As I mentioned, I'd never dealt with them before, and it's quite wild. If you've never actually identified one in your life, and there probably is one, just by numbers alone, I think it's estimated 5% of people in general are sort of like this. So there probably is, but hopefully you just haven't gotten too involved with them. But if you haven't dealt with it, it is quite wild, and I have learned a lot, and I'll learn how to identify it better in the future. Not to say that I won't make mistakes again, but I won't make that exact mistake again. So that's one less mistake that I can make.
Hey everybody, Josh Tully Show. I want to talk to you about something extremely important right now other than the bug that landed on my ear.
Hey, bitches! All right, ready? 5, 4, 3.
Hey everybody, Josh Tully from the Josh Tully Show. I want to talk to you about something extremely important. Important? What the hell? I'm doing this on purpose. It's a great blooper reel.
Extreme porn, yeah.
It's a great blooper reel.
Hey, people are going to fuck up the ass.
Yes, out of all the people, I'm the only one that does this live, yet I'm the one that messes up.
That makes sense.
Hey Josh, you're the only one that drinks.
You're the only one not drinking too.
Maybe that's the secret.
Maybe you gotta have a couple drinks in you.
Hey, I got
some people aren't Fox News, other people aren't. All right, guys.
Hey everybody, Josh Tully from Josh Tully Show. I want to talk to you about something extremely important, something that actually happened while I was down in Chile. All of us have come together. Look at this panel. We have Luke Radowski, Angela Keaton, Tatiana Moroz, Jeff Berwick, who's smoking a cigarette, Jordan Page, the best economist in the country, Bob Murphy, Ben Swan, and Joby Weeks. Now, what I want to talk to you about is jury nullification. You might be thinking, well, what is jury nullification? Isn't that something that the kooks talk about on conspiracy sites and all that sort of stuff? No, it's something extremely real. Right now, there are millions of people in prison. They're in a cage for a victimless crime. I mean, imagine, you're going down the street and you violate one of the 2.1 million rules, ordinances, regulations, codes, or whatever, and now you're in jail. Your life is ruined, all because there was no victim? Honestly? Seriously? And we think that that's how America's supposed to work? You know, sometimes we think it's us against the system. Well, it is. So we've come together, a lot of varying opinions, a lot of differing thoughts on topics, but we've come together because it is us against the system. So we've formed this movement called Just Us. Just Us. You can make a change. I don't care if you're a hardcore anarchist and say, oh, I don't respond to any official correspondence. Take the opportunity to get on a jury. Because it's not about you partaking in the system. It's about you keeping somebody out of jail, somebody out of a cage. You're providing their life back. So do this. If you see your opportunity to get into jury, take it. Take it. Share this video. Share all of their videos. All of us are making these videos. Share the pages. Share the links. We're going to have links on the bottom to the sites that are associated with the movement. And we're going to get other people in media to join us. And you can get others to join us too. So thanks for sharing, and share.
And I'm here with a big announcement. I'm actually here with Bob Murphy, Joby Weeks, Jordan Page, Josh Tyler, just fuck me. Just fuck me.
When? Not tonight, Luke.
Why, do you have a headache? What, you're still hungover from last night?
Yes, I am.
Oh my.
This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org. I'm here with Jeff Berwick, Tatiana Moroz, Angela Keaton, Ben Swan, Josh Tully, Jordan Page, Joby Weeks, and Bob Murphy. And we are here announcing something really exciting. Right now, we are launching the national campaign for Just Us, which means you out there, we want everyone to know in the United States of America about the true power they have within themselves to actually change laws. And you can do that very simply. We will not stop until everyone knows about jury nullification. If there is a crime that happens and there's no victim, no one is hurt, you have a duty, you have a moral obligation to be a part of a jury and decide if that person goes to jail or not. The power is within you. We are making an allegiance between all these powerful people, individuals here today, all of these unique people from all these different demographics. If we all come together, and this is an invite to everyone out there, whatever network or media organization you have, join the Just Us movement. It just launched right now. The website is still in the works. We don't even have a website. We just discussed this last night, but we're all putting all of our forces together to let you know the true power you have within yourself to let free people go and to nullify laws that make no sense at all. Join us. Just Us. That's it.
No victim, no crime. Say it one more time. No victim, no crime. No victim, no crime. Hey, the jurors say not guilty. No victim, no crime.
I don't think of myself collectively like many people do. I don't think of myself as a Canadian. I'm a human being as in everyone else. I don't believe in these borders that these politicians draw up on maps and all that sort of stuff. And that's just used basically to separate us and to basically keep us apart.
A little bit about what you do?
Certainly. My name's Jeff Berwick. I write the Dollar Vigilante newsletter. It's a newsletter basically helping people to prepare for the coming collapse of the fiat currency system, which is well into process right now, and how to survive through it and prosper from it and get through it, really, because it's going to be one of the craziest things that's ever happened in human history. We've never had the global reserve currency of the world
collapse, and that's going to happen in one way or another in the next few years. In the past, people in like Zimbabwe or whatever, they could buy or they could convert their money into U.S. dollars, but now we're going to have the U.S. dollar collapse, and it's going to take all the other fiat currencies with it because there's nothing backing the other fiat currencies either. Most of them are heavily indebted as well. So we just help people to prepare for that and talk about those sort of topics.
Right, and that's what happens, exactly what happens in Silver Circle is the dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency. So when exactly did you leave Canada?
I left in 2004. I've always thought, I don't think of myself collectively like many people do. I don't think of myself as a Canadian. I'm a human being as in everyone else. I don't believe in these borders that these politicians draw up on maps and all that sort of stuff. And that's just used basically to separate us and to basically keep us apart. And so I've always thought of myself as a citizen of the world. So in 2004, I had the ability, after selling an internet company that I have in Canada, to travel for a while. So I sailed on my boat for a while, tried to sail the world, and I sunk my boat in El Salvador. And then I just kept going for a few years. Then I lived in Thailand for a while, and now I live in Mexico.
Which is an amazing story that, I mean, way to go on getting all that experience in, and we're happy that you made it and you had that surfboard. That's what I read, right?
That's right.
Very thankful for that surfboard. A lot of people are. So explain to me a little bit about Galt's Gulch. I've been reading a lot about it, and obviously there's a little play on a very popular fictional book there.
Yes.
So go ahead and tell me a little bit about it.
Well, you know, with this coming collapse, it could get very, very messy and dangerous for a period of time. There's no way to know what's going to happen. We could have major wars or famines or all sorts of. The government could really crack down on people as they try to retain power. And so Doug Casey came up with this concept, and Doug Casey's basically my mentor, and he's the one who's taught me about many of the things I know about freedom and that sort of thing. And he was looking around the world. He's traveled all over the world. He's been to 150 countries, 180 countries or something, and he wanted to build a place that's quite far away from everything, to get away from the Western world for the next few years, and to really try to attract sort of freedom-minded people there, exactly the same as in Ayn Rand's book, where entrepreneurs and more freedom-minded people who don't want government involvement in their life, went and lived in one area, and that's basically what Doug Casey's doing in Argentina.
So can anyone move there then?
If you have the money, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So about how much is some property down there?
They're selling lots. The smaller ones are all sold now. They have a total of 300 lots. They sold 230 so far, so there's 70 left. They're all larger lots. They start at around $300,000 for a lot, and it'll cost you easily a few $100,000 or more to build a house. So you have to look at $500,000 up sort of investment.
So in comparison to Galt's Gulch, is there actually businesses flourishing in this area? I mean, do you have your automotive repair, your electrician, etc., that are moving into the area?
Totally. This is transforming the whole northern province of Salta in Argentina. You have, you know, hundreds of multimillionaires and entrepreneurs and amazing scientists, all sorts of amazing people moving there. And of course, they're going to have a number of needs and wants, and many of them are entrepreneurs, so they'll start up their own businesses, and it's going to really transform that whole area for sure.
You know, if there's going to be all these services located in this area with freedom-oriented people, how is the currency developing, or is there, you know, just one sort of currency developing in this Galt's Gulch area?
Well, we're like everyone. We have to wait till the system collapses. We're not going to start just trading gold amongst ourselves. We might as well continue to use these dollars while we can, because we'd actually prefer to use those dollars because we think of them as becoming worthless every day, worth less every day, and eventually worthless. So we'd rather do that until they finally disappear, and then we can go back to some sort of probably gold-backed currency or something along those lines. We really don't know where we go after that, or silver-backed, or, you know, precious metals. So right now we actually use the Argentine peso because we want to get rid of them as fast as we can, because they're devaluing. They've actually had 5 devaluations and currency collapses in the last 40 years in Argentina. It's considered a national sport in Argentina. It's in the process of collapsing again. So, you know, if you're going to have pesos down there, you just want to get rid of them as fast as possible, because it probably won't last much longer.
Right. Do you see a trend here with Galt's Gulch? Do you see communities like this? Do you think they're going to start popping up around the world?
Absolutely. Doug Casey has talked for a number of years about people starting files. He thinks as these nation states all start to collapse, because they're all basically, all nation states now have central banks, they all have socialism, and they're all gone bankrupt at this point, and they're going to all start to collapse. And then what we might see happen is people starting to migrate and starting their own areas, their own autonomous regions and anarchic regions, or whatever they want to do. They can start their own communist region for all we care, as long as it's all voluntary.
And yeah, we're seeing that all over the world right now, and many people are starting up sort of expat communities, trying to attract like-minded people in certain regions. Because if you think about it, it's so easy to travel the world now, and so you couldn't do this a few hundred years ago. It was just too difficult to get people from all over the world to go move to one area. But now it's quite simple with things like the internet. You can work from anywhere. So these things are popping up all over. I have a small one in Mexico, in Acapulco. I have my own little libertarian enclave called Acacondos, and yeah, so these things are popping up all over the place. And the New Hampshire, the Free States, and so people are migrating there. So these things are happening all over right now.
Right. So I mean, you're kind of a walking, influence and inspiration for a lot of libertarians out there who want to escape the system. I mean, people are probably just drooling at what you're telling them right now. So what's your advice? What's maybe a first step that people could know to do what you're doing? Because it seems like a big risk to take, but at the same time, I mean, the reward is huge.
Yeah, I don't see it as being risky. I think the risk is staying in a place like the U.S. for the next few years, and possibly, they just wrote off the Bill of Rights. The Constitution was dead long ago. All these things they're doing with the National Defense Authorization Act, to me it's incredibly risky to stay in some of these Western countries, especially where they've been so obvious that they're going to be clamping down and setting up FEMA camps and all these sort of things. It looks like Nazi Germany all over again in process. So to me the risk is staying in a Western country, and there's so much opportunity outside of these Western countries because all the other countries, they never got into this debt-based money system, which has most of the Western world is part of, which are all collapsing now. So they don't have any big debt, they don't have these major problems, they don't have these misallocations of wealth. There's all kinds of opportunities, and many of these governments aren't that involved in the economy, whereas in the US you need so many licenses and regulations and rules to start up a company. In many places, like for example Mexico, you just start something up, you just start a business, and that's it. So for entrepreneurial-minded people, you just have to basically figure out a way to get somewhere, and then figure out how to add value to something there, and it can be very simple. Of course, it sounds scary, right? Because the future, if there's no guarantee, it sounds scary. But I think it's not as scary as it used to be with the internet, and the world is a small place nowadays. If things get bad, maybe your father can send money and fly you back to wherever you came from or something.
So in Argentina and Mexico and places like this, there's people aren't going to be facing these same sort of trials as they are in, let's say, the United States and Canada.
Well, every country's different. Argentina's got a lot of problems too. They're a very socialist government, so I wouldn't really want to start a business in Argentina. But there's surrounding areas that are awesome. Paraguay has no income tax. There's hardly anything there. There's hardly any government involvement in the economy. It's a great place. That's very close to Argentina. There's all sorts of places like that, Chile and numerous countries. So it really depends on what you want to do and your skills and what you want to start up. But yeah, there's so much opportunity in the world today, and all the time there's things happening. For example, Honduras is thinking of starting up basically a law-free, tax-free zone, a libertarian anarchist community. And so I'm looking at doing something there, and there's all sorts of things going on right now. So definitely it's exciting times for people who are freedom-minded.
Great, and the people in these countries, are they welcoming to the idea of a libertarian anarchist society?
Again, every country's different. Mexico has so many people who are actually anarchists at heart. They really just think of the government as a nuisance, and they don't even want it or care about it, and they just give the policemen 5 pesos sometimes and just tell them to get lost, which actually I prefer to the US way, where you get thrown up against a wall and tased and pepper sprayed and like Rand Paul today, who got detained by the TSA. And once you get into that system, that's scary to me. So yeah, so there's a lot of freedom-minded people around the world, but at the same time, just like anywhere, there's a lot of socialist-minded, a lot of collectivist-minded, statist sort of people. But every area has some, at least, that are freedom-minded for sure.
Right. Well, I subscribe to your daily blog, and I love reading everything that happens every day that you have to say. How do people find you online, and what's the best way?
It's just dollarvigilante.com, and there's a free blog, like you just said, right on the front page. Just put in your email address, and we'll send you our vigilante thoughts.
Great. Well, we're really looking forward to working with you and cross-promoting both of our projects. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
in radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. We are here with the DollarVigilante.com's proprietor, Jeff Berwick, old friend. We've been bumping into each other at various conferences now for years, been on the show countless times, and he's run into a situation that really you need to be aware of because it happens to us all so many times. And let's face it, we're in a world that is filled with sociopaths, and you go into ventures with the best of intentions and you wind up in just a surreal situation. Jeff, how are you?
I'm hanging in there, Kerry. How are you?
All right. So Galt's Gulch, Chile, incredible development. I mean, the land there, I've looked at the pictures countless times. Gorgeous place, and you got hooked on it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is beautiful. It's all real. The land is real. It is owned by Galt's Gulch. For anyone who doesn't know anything about Galt's Gulch, maybe I should just back up a little bit. Galt's Gulch was something that I started with a partner that turned out to be a sociopathic criminal named Ken Johnson about 2 years ago. And we had this beautiful, I had this beautiful dream, and I still do, by the way. This is not over at all, but there has been definitely a major problem for quite a while, actually, for at least, pretty much since Ken Johnson's been involved. But we've really been recognizing the problems, and we're trying to fix them right now. But just to let people know, the idea was to start a community in this beautiful area in Chile. The land is amazing. It's like an hour west of Santiago, which is this booming, bustling, modern metropolis. The economy is doing very well in Chile. And then an hour to the west is Viña del Mar, probably the best seaside ocean resort in South America. And yeah, the land is beautiful. So we went and looked at it, and we decided to move forward, and we brought in some investors. And pretty much right after that, I thought I was 50-50 partners, but I got really, I believe I got completely defrauded. But I didn't even know it. This is how, and we can maybe go into this later. I know you like this topic, and I'm interested in exploring it a bit as well. With some of these sociopathic people, they're really good. And actually, you mentioned that you had run into numerous of them. I can't say for sure that I've ever fully dealt on this level with anybody who's been a sociopath. So this was my first sort of experience. So just to rush through a little bit, there was a lot of people fell for a lot of lies, and this went on and on for about a year and a half. And it wasn't until about a few months ago that everybody finally realized that this is, we've been lied to. He's been doing things behind our backs that are unbelievable. And we decided to call a halt to it. Almost all the investors, buyers at Galt's Gulch, and there's quite a few of them, are all on board to stop what he's doing and to try to regain this project back to the investors and the buyers. And that's where it's at right now. And so we've decided to go public and to notify people that until Ken Johnson is not with Galt's Gulch Chile, stay away from it. This is, you just don't want to be involved with this person. You can do whatever you want. If you don't believe me, go ahead. But don't put it on me if you have major problems. But I think we're going to have a change, and that's what we're trying to do right now. He's pretty much run out of time with a lot of the things, a lot of the lies, and a lot of things that he's been saying.
And personally, I don't really know Ken. I interviewed him once or twice. Seemed like a perfectly good guy. And whether he's a sociopath or not, I'm not in a position to say. I just know that there are problems with the project and a lot of unhappy people. When I've seen other similar situations to this, and there's just look at the internet and run it. We've seen people with such personalities before. So whether he is or not, I'm not in a position to say, but pretty interesting dealings, a lot of unaccounted for dollars involved here, right?
We're still trying to figure it out. He had done so many things to keep it so no one could find out what he was doing, and he kept dragging people along, saying, I'll have the accounting done next month. I'll have the accounting done next month. And he somehow managed to convince enough people to keep doing it for quite a while until it finally just reached a point where it became completely clear to anyone involved that he is not doing what he said he was going to do. And then we started looking into it deeper, and we're not sure yet. We're still looking into it. There's definitely legal action going on right now, trying to figure out exactly what is where. We do know, or I do know, to the best of my knowledge, and I've talked to many lawyers about this. I've seen a lot of documentation that the land that Galt's Gulch Chile has is owned by Galt's Gulch Chile. Now, who owns Galt's Gulch Chile is a different story. We're still trying to, definitely the investors of Galt's Gulch Chile don't own it. I thought I was a 50% partner in it. I don't apparently have any legal ownership of it, and haven't for a long time. That I didn't realize until about a year ago. But even then, I was told that it was just because there was the stories go on and on. But what I am saying is that it looks like the land is for sure owned by Galt's Gulch Chile, so that's good. So that's a very sizable, a very valuable piece of land. So at the very least, this can be somewhat salvaged to an extent. The issue at the moment is water rights. We've been told many things by many different lawyers. It's still fairly, I'm not sure where that's at. And so that's going to be an issue. But what's going on right now is that all the investors, and not all, but almost all of the investors and buyers at Galt's Gulch are all working together to get rid of this person who has been just doing all sorts of things in secret and not telling anyone anything. And then what we're going to have to do once we gain control, and I believe we will do that, hopefully, and I'm pretty sure we will, is figure out what's going on. And so it's going to be a process, and it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fun, but we do have a lot of passionate people, a lot of people with a fair amount of wealth as well, that are wanting to make this right. And so we do have the capability and ability to do that, as long as it hasn't been completely totally ruined by this one person, and I don't think it has. And so that's where it's at the moment. And what I've been writing about at the Dollar Vigilante recently is that I didn't come out and say it right away. When I first realized looked like there was problems, probably around November of last year, was sort of when I was getting pretty sure that this person was not doing what he said he was going to do. And then I was really quite sure, and actually most people were very sure around April, May of this year. And then what happened was in June, a lot of us got together and decided that we have to do something. And we decided to start to move forward, but things weren't moving forward fast enough for any of our comfort. And so we decided now just to go public, tell everyone what's going on so that no one else gets involved in this until we can rectify it.
Wow, what a mess. What a mess.
Yeah.
How many people involved in this thing, roughly, Jeff?
That's a good question. I don't even know that. That's how I have actually been kept in the dark. It's a long story, but generally what happened about a year ago was that this person that's running, managing partner of the company, had somehow convinced a lot of people that I was the one who was causing all the problems that he was causing. And a lot of people actually turned on me and believed him. And this is what can happen when you get involved with these sort of people. You don't know what's real and what's not real. And I got so sort of angry about it. Not angry. I never get physically angry or anything, but just upset about what was going on, that I started to create quite a ruckus. I said, we don't have any paperwork. We haven't seen anything. He's not telling us anything. No one knows what the accounting is. And I created such a ruckus that the investors at that time said, can you please just step away? We're going to deal with it. For whatever reason, there's a conflict between you and this person. And but we've got his promise that he's going to put us on the board of directors. He's going to give us the accounting, but he just wants you gone from the project. And because they were the main investors, I figured I should adhere to their wishes. It's their money involved. And it just unfortunately turned out that they also had chose the wrong the wrong path, and then it just devolved from there.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling that something this well-intentioned and something that could be this great could get this messed up. And there's a lesson in this too, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. What they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And yeah, boy, have I ever learned a ton of lessons. And one is how to deal with sociopaths. As I mentioned, I'd never dealt with them before, and it's quite wild. If you'd never actually identified one in your life, and there probably is one, just by numbers alone, I think it's estimated 5% of people in general are sort of like this. So there probably is, but hopefully you just haven't gotten too involved with them. But if you haven't dealt with it, it is quite wild, and I have learned a lot, and I'll learn how to identify it better in the future. Not to say that I won't make mistakes again, but I won't make that exact mistake again. So that's one less mistake that I can make.
Yeah, well, one thing about sociopaths is empathy. They really don't have any empathy for anyone. But they've learned over time is that they can't just show that they have no empathy. So effectively, they have to fake it. And the way that they fake it can be a little bit convincing initially, but in reality, it's far from convincing. Put it that way. I just remember one where somebody had lost a close relative, and the response that came out of this person's mouth about it was just really shocking. It was in a moment, unguarded moment. And it was something where just like, oh my God, how could the person say that? And that's the giveaway. It's like when they come out with their true feelings, which is like they could care less, that they were as like upset over this person's loss as they were about, a dog getting hit by a car in the street. You just know that there's really something wrong with this person that it's just shocking.
Yeah, and you can actually, people have seen sociopaths. Everyone knows who Barack Obama is. That's a very classic sociopath. You look at how he reacts with, for example, the Sandy Hook thing, which there's a lot of questions about what really happened at Sandy Hook. But according to the official story, that there was a lot of children killed in that, and his faking of shedding a tear there, you can kind of see it more once you sort of recognize that these sort of people exist, and you can, like you just pointed out, once you sort of have dealt with them enough, you can kind of see the hints that they don't feel true empathy, and that's a real show that they are a sociopath or psychopath.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a lot of things on the internet about it, but they have to fake normal responses. Like, here's one that they're great orators. They use poetic language and are able to carry on long monologues or stories that are hypnotic and capture the attention of those around them. That's one. They have delusions of grandeur, oftentimes feel overly entitled to certain positions, people, and things, and they believe that their own beliefs and opinions are the absolute authority and disregard the opinions of others. They're rarely shy, insecure, or at a loss for words, and they have trouble suppressing emotional responses like anger, impatience, or annoyance, and constantly lash out at others and respond hastily to these emotions, and another one is you got to take their past and present behavior into account, because, they exhibit abnormally spontaneous and daring behavior. They act outside of the realm of social norms and do bizarre, risky, outrageous things without assessing potential repercussions. I mean, they're professional liars. They fabricate stories and make outlandish, untruthful statements but are able to make these lies sound convincing with their confidence and assertiveness, right?
Yeah, you just described a person I'm very involved with, I think, to the T.
Yeah. And, another thing is like, consider their relationships with others, right? Do they have friends? Because most of these sociopaths do not have friends. They're really loner types. So you have to always consider that, in terms of, do they have relationships with other people, healthy relationships, right? I mean, that's a big one. You'll see that oftentimes, that they, are estranged from virtually all their family members, because they've victimized those people, and those people eventually say enough is enough. So that's a biggie, because just about everyone has got relationships with some family members, some friends, and they just won't have any. So how do you cope with them? And really, if you don't need to be with them, get the hell away from them. Just stay as far away as you possibly can, and don't try to cure them, because you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to reform them. That's for sure. Just stay away is really, really the key to it all. Avoid them at all costs. Sometimes you're in a work environment, you can't get away from them, It just, it becomes unavoidable, but you need to develop a strategy or a plan to break the ties and just get as far away from them as you can. It's difficult. Sometimes you just can't break those ties, especially if it's a family member. It becomes real hard. And there's different types of sociopaths too. Some are, forget about criminals, because, criminals are criminals, but sometimes they're malignant. Other times they're benign. And, it's just, they're definitely going to be flatterers, and they're going to be kissing up to you when they want something from you. It's real tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. And some of the things that you described as characteristics of a sociopath, and just by the way, I don't want to make this about like this. That's the whole reason that I've got a problem, is because there's one person. It's all my fault for getting involved with this one person. But just because someone has some of those characteristics, like you said, maybe they're like a loner. Now, you have to be very careful about how you, some people just like to be alone a lot. That's fine. But it's really difficult. But I think people could really do well by reading up on these sort of personality types, or kind of people, or even, I don't even know if I want to call them people, because they feel no empathy. So they're not really a human being. So, I didn't really know a lot about this whole thing until the last few years, and started reading up on it. And this is quite fascinating. I think it can be quite helpful for people, especially to start realizing. And then once you start to realize it, you see it, almost every single politician has these personality traits. It becomes quite clear.
Yeah, our friend Doug Casey always talks about how sociopaths are attracted to, government, because they get the power, and then they get to like really act out on innocent people, citizens. Here's a good one that I think you'll like, is parasitic lifestyle, an intentional, manipulative, selfish, and exploitative financial dependence on others as reflected in a lack of motivation, low self-discipline, and inability to begin or complete responsibilities. Sound familiar? Yeah. And it goes on and on. There's a book out there that you might want to take a look at called, where is it? I think it's called The Sociopath Next Door. There it is, by Dr. Martha Stout, The Sociopath Next Door, 4% of Western society, which is remarkable, but most of them are not killers. They're just going to make your life miserable. And hey, it's really important to recognize them and just insulate them from your life, because they will really make a mess of your life if you let them.
Yeah, like you were just saying, if people know more about this sort of personality type, and I think I've heard stats, you can never know for sure, that they make up about 5% of humans. So you're going to be around them. You see them on TV all the time as politicians and central bankers. But the more that you understand it, the easier it is to sort of figure out who around you is like that. And like you said, just stay away from them. Don't allow them to get into your life, because I can attest, they can actually turn your life upside down, inside out, just like politicians do. They make right seem wrong and wrong seem right. And it just, you don't want to just be around that kind of energy.
Yeah. And, when you're getting into a business relationship with somebody, internet makes it real easy to vet people, or easier. Not 100%.
Yeah.
You
do a Google search on them and just see what people have said about them. Look at their Facebook page, see if they've got 1 million friends. It's their birthday. If they got like 3 people going, "Hey, happy birthday," and it's like no family, no good friends. Bring up good old stories and stuff like that. Like Barack Obama, that's a perfect example. He seems to have no real history, no friends. No one remembers him anywhere. I don't know where he came from, but. That's the way it is. They have no real friends, and even his wife. That's all very. There's a lot of questions about that as well.
Yeah, and name changes. I think that is another thing that hasn't been explored, but I think you will see a lot of sociopaths change their names quite frequently. Look at the mayor of New York. He's changed his name legally, I think, 2 or 3 times. And
really? I did not know that.
Yeah. And
what's his name now? I don't know. I knew it was Bloomberg before.
No, de Blasio.
De Blasio.
Comrade de Blasio. He's gone to court 2 times to change his name, which means he's had 3 legal names. And you got to wonder about somebody like that. Hey, anyway, Jeff, so hopefully we'll see a resolution to this shortly, and project can get back on stream, because it really is a great concept, and Chile is the perfect place for it. Probably the most, other than Hong Kong, the most capitalist country in the world right now, right?
Well, that could be argued. Singapore and others are great as well. But Chile's definitely in South America the most capitalist by far, and it's doing very well.
Yeah, for sure. So your work, dollarvigilante.com. And find the link to dollarvigilante.com in financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. And Jeff, good luck getting this mess cleaned up. And hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of positive things down the road.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. Really appreciate it.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Every week the show is growing. Would you like to be a part of it? Then go to clubfsn.com and help support us with $1, $2, $5, or $10 a month and get a host of premium content with newsletters dropped into your mailbox, free books, private audio clips, webinars, and much more. Then join clubfsn.com. If you want to get ahead of the trend and ensure your family's financial security before it's too late, go to clubfsn.com and sign up.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Ese hombre estaba dentro del baño, no me siguió al baño, estaba adentro del baño, sí. Cerró la puerta y me penetró. Me alzó el vestido, me hizo al lado el calzón y me penetró. Eso fue que hizo. Llegaron mis amigas a tiempo y me sacaron. Yo quedé en un shock hasta que llegara a mi hotel.
¿A qué hora llegó usted al pub?
A la 1 de la mañana.
¿Sola?
Sola.
¿Usted es habitué del pub ese?
Mi esposo y yo vamos cada vez. Yo nunca me he separado de mi esposo hasta ese día. Jamás nos separamos. Ni me he citado, a menos que yo me cite con el hombre, estando mi esposo conmigo. Me cito los tres, supongo, pero no. No conozco de nada a ese tipo.
¿Nunca lo había visto?
Nunca lo había visto, jamás. Es la primera vez y espero que sea la última que yo pueda ver a ese hombre, pero jamás lo había visto.
¿Usted gritó?
No, no grité.
¿Por qué?
No sé. Estaba en shock, estaba pánico, estaba helada. Yo no hice nada, no hice nada. Solo me quedé sorprendida. Fue en 2 minutos, fue en cuestión de segundos. Pasó todo demasiado rápido.
¿Él se desnudó?
No, jamás se desnudó. No.
Él solamente le levantó
Se bajó la cremallera y es todo lo que hizo. Él jamás se desnudó, él jamás me desnudó. Él solo alzó mi vestido y hizo al lado el calzón. Es lo que hizo.
Usted sabe que hoy día el juez estuvo ahí haciendo una inspección ocular y dice que la puerta no tiene cerradura, que no se puede trabar.
Porque ya le quitaron la cerradura, supongo. Porque hay mucho interés porque no cierren ese club ñanta. Sí, por eso ahorita no hay cerraduras. Porque no fueron antes a ver si había cerradura. Por Dios. El baño, para poder cerrarse, se alza la puerta y se pone la cerradura. Pues ese tipo lo hizo con mucha facilidad. Y yo no sé ahora por qué no hay cerradura. Yo no sé qué intereses haya, pero yo voy a dar pelea hasta el final y que se sepa mi verdad. Porque ahorita me siento como que todos los argentinos están en contra de mí, porque a mí el gobierno no me ha apoyado con un psicólogo, a mí no me ha apoyado con nada, a mí no se han contactado conmigo, ni siquiera la prensa se ha contactado para ver mi verdad y quién soy yo y dar la cara. Y aquí estoy, esta soy yo, soy Kena Moreno.
Bueno, aquí estamos nosotros.
Sí, por eso yo
queríamos ubicarle, no pudimos
tengo
ubicar.
un inmenso coraje ahora, que no tiene usted idea, porque usted no está en otro país donde todo el mundo está en contra de usted y donde yo soy mujer y aquí es un lugar de tanto macho, y que no se me está otorgando a mí la protección que realmente una mujer turista necesita. Es muy doloroso, pero que tienen que hablar y no quedarse calladas de nada. Eso.
Yo creo que no será mucho pensar que el pueblo está en contra suya.
No, en contra mía. Hay intereses que ñanta no se cierre. Yo hice la denuncia porque no quería que eso quedara así. Yo no sabía tenían antecedentes aquí de abusos sexuales o de violaciones. Yo solo exploté con él porque le tengo mucha confianza, porque él es mi isla, mi apoyo. Y cuando yo llegué allá, es la persona que tengo más cerca, es mi México, es mi persona. Entonces yo le dije la verdad de lo que había pasado, todo lo que ha pasado, solté llanto, todo fue... Si ustedes consultan a un psicólogo, puedes decirles, que yo no he tenido un psicólogo en este momento, pero puedes decirle cómo funciona el cerebro. Porque tengo hijos que criar, tengo trabajo al que asistir y tengo que continuar con una vida. Con él va a ser la misma porque hace unos días yo era una persona feliz, una persona con ganas de vivir, ayudamos gente. Y no sé, no hay derecho que venga a un lugar a querer prosperar o una vida feliz para mis hijos y me encuentro con algo así.
Perdón, Kena, el hombre estaba drogado, estaba borracho.
De borracho y drogado yo no puedo saber nada, solamente los peritos, la gente Yo lo vi 2 minutos máximo, no más en mi vida, nunca lo he visto, no sabía ni su nombre hasta que Valkyria dijo Se llama
Sí.
Fernando, y le dicen así, no sé, es lo que, hasta yo no sabía ni su nombre, ni sé, nunca lo había visto, nunca. Todas las veces he ido con él, era la primera noche que había ido yo solita. No quiero conmover con mis lágrimas, no quiero conmover a nadie con mis lágrimas, soy una mujer muy fuerte. He pasado por cosas horribles, con mi parto ha sido feo, he tenido muchas cosas que superar en mi vida. Claro que aquí me atacaron mi sexualidad, mi integridad. Yo amo a mi esposo, nos casamos por la iglesia, nos casamos bonito en Acapulco, y alguien me ataca. Yo no voy a volver a ser la persona que era antes. Yo no puedo dejar que mi esposo me toque nomás, todo me asusta. No sé qué decir, porque es un hombre bueno, está siempre conmigo, está aquí apoyándome, está de pie, y yo también tengo que estar de pie por mi familia, por mis hijos. Mi madre está súper preocupada en México por todo lo que está pasando, es impotencia de que ellos no pueden abrazarme, yo tampoco, y no quiero conmover con lágrimas ni nada, solo quiero que se sepa la verdad, que ustedes me hagan el favor de decir lo que yo he dicho aquí, y que no soy supuestamente María Eugenia, que soy Kena, y que no soy una prostituta ni nada, que soy una, pueden corroborar en Acapulco qué persona soy. Tengo millones de amigos y todos saben la persona que yo soy, y la honestidad, y que tanta gente que yo ayudo.
Ese hombre estaba adentro del baño, no me siguió al baño, estaba adentro del baño,
Sí.
cerró la puerta y me penetró, me alzó el vestido, me hizo al lado el calzón y me penetró. Eso fue que hizo. Llegaron mis amigas a tiempo y me sacaron. Yo quedé en un shock hasta que llegara a mi hotel.
¿A qué hora llegó usted al pub?
A la 1 de la mañana.
Sola.
Sola.
¿Usted es habitué del pub eso?
Mi esposo y yo lo hacemos cada vez. Yo nunca me he separado de mi esposo hasta ese día. Jamás nos separamos. Ni me he citado, a menos que yo me cite con el hombre, estando mi esposo conmigo. Me cito los tres, supongo, pero no. No conozco de nada a ese tipo.
Nunca lo había visto.
Nunca lo había visto, jamás. Es la primera vez y espero que sea la última que yo pueda ver a ese hombre, pero jamás lo había visto.
¿Usted gritó?
No, no grité.
¿Por qué?
No sé. Estaba en shock, estaba pánico, estaba helada. Yo no hice nada, no hice nada. Solo me quedé sorprendida. Fue en 2 minutos, fue en cuestión de segundos. Pasó todo demasiado rápido.
¿Él se desnudó?
No, jamás se desnudó.
¿Él solamente le levantó
Se
la
bajó
pollera?
la cremallera y es todo lo que hizo. Él jamás se desnudó, él jamás me desnudó. Él solo alzó mi vestido y hizo al lado el brazo. Es lo que hizo.
Usted sabe que hoy día el juez estuvo ahí haciendo una inspección ocular y dice que la puerta no tiene cerradura, que no se puede trabar.
Porque ya le quitaron la cerradura, supongo. Porque hay mucho interés porque no cierren ese club ñata. Sí, por eso ahorita no hay cerraduras, porque no fueron antes a ver si había cerraduras, por Dios. El baño, para poder cerrarse, se alza la puerta.
It's Lucy and Jeff going for walks.
Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
Well, hello, and welcome to the new Dollar Vigilante channel.